area and to see it grow like it has been. I come here all the time. I love Main Street Kissimmee. Anybody watching right now, come down here, eat, shop, purchase. There's so many great restaurants. And I could honestly talk about the wonderful part. And the sunrail's right there. I was going to catch it today, but it was running a little bit late. So, but thanks for having me. And I guess you have your own microphone.
I do it.
How fancy.
So I would like to, on behalf of Alianza Center and Alianza for Progress, welcome everyone here tonight. Alianza is founded to work with and identify leaders in the Latino and Puerto Rican community, and also all our neighbors as well. We don't exclusively work with one. We all live in the same neighborhood, attend the same schools, elect the same people to office. So it is our privilege tonight to hold the first candidate forum of the season, of many which we want to have. We are planning candidate forums in every single race that's here in Orange County and Osceola County. If we get around to it, we may get around to school board, but we're starting off with the State House and the State Senate. And I'd like to welcome all of you today, all the important guests that are here in the audience. We'll say a little bit about the format. We're going to start with questions, and the questions are going to be in particular subject areas. Once we ask a question of the panelists, the audience is able to ask a question in that same subject area. No, not a different subject area, the subject area that we're talking about. So we do that in order to keep you engaged and involved throughout the forum. And then at the end, once we finish our 5 topics of the evening, 5 or 6 topics of the evening, then you can ask a question on any subject of your own interest there from the audience. So that's how we're gonna organize the topics and the questions. And I will turn it over to Ibeth again to talk a little bit about the rules of the debate.
Chévere. Okay. So of course, like NASA, I'm looking, it's 5:59. So we were just kind of like, hey, how are you? But we're going live at 6, right? Are we live already? We're live. Okay, we're going for it. Okay, pues dale, you want to start your formal introduction since someone took a long time to write a beautiful script.
So good evening. My name is Marcos Vilar, founder and executive director of Alianza for Progress. Alianza for Progress seeks to unite the Puerto Rican and Hispanic populations in Florida and develop leaders from within the community that will support progress in our community and in our neighborhoods. Our commitment to establishing genuine relationships with the Puerto Rican and Latino community, its leaders, and its allies drives us every day to ensure that we change the current system that disproportionately benefits some very powerful people. Our grassroots efforts within the Hispanic community, respecting and honoring our unique cultures, traditions, and strive to build a long-lasting power for economic, social, and environmental progress. So thank you all for being here today. We welcome the candidates for District 47 on both sides of the aisle. Maria Rebelez, Anthony Nieves, Andrew Yang, and the incumbent, Paula Stark.
As I said earlier, on behalf of Spectrum News, thank you so much for having me here. We do have a political show that airs Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Oye, ese show was one night a week for years, one night. And then they said, 2024 is heating up. Let's go 5 nights a week. So I hope that you can join us for that Monday through Friday. If you miss the 7 o'clock, don't worry. We have an 11:30 encore presentation. I will be getting video on my phone and share that for a later date and on social media, which is already activated. Also, I would like to welcome anybody who's watching us online on all the social media platforms. That's the way we roll this day and age, right?
That's right.
People just sitting there to watch TV. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got something to do. So on the social media platforms, donde está la situación máxima is the best, I think, platform to get the word out about whatever the topic is, which is politics. So forum instructions very quickly as I look down in my paper. I will start explaining some of the procedures for the forum. with each candidate received ahead of time some of the instructions. You will have 3 minutes. So it should be easy to remember. 3 minutes for opening statement, 3 minutes for closing, and 3 minutes to answer each question. We have some really hot topics. I mean, Angel Sepulveda and the rest of the staff here putting all this stuff together. Opening and closing statements will be done in the following order based on sitting. So I guess we'll go from here to here since it's closest to me, or the other way. Sure, absolutely. So we'll start here since I'm closest to it. So we'll go with Paula Stark, the incumbent, then Andrew Yang, Anthony Nieves, and Maria Reyes. So that'll be the order. And then on the closing end, it'll be different. Oh, I don't want to forget this. The timekeeper sitting in the first row. What? Wave so everybody can see you. Very good. When there is half a minute left on your speaking time, the timekeeper will hold up a card and says 30 seconds, indicating that you have 30 seconds to finish your answer. At 15 seconds, you basically get the gist of it. The timekeeper will hold up a card that says 15 seconds. Please, candidates, wrap up when you see the stop card. If you continue speaking after the stop card is held up, we will say thank you. Oye, let's wrap this up and move on to the next speaker. Just like we're at home, right? Because this is a conversation, a candid conversation. I have to point this out. Personal references about other candidates out of order. We're trying to keep this civilized, please. Please note the cameras in the back and across the room, of course. We know the cameras are always on. Forum is being broadcast live and will be a rebroadcast YouTube and Facebook. Hello to those on social media. Now, instructions for you, the audience. And I was surprised to see quite a few people. So thank you for taking time out of your Taco Tuesday as we serve up politics. Please turn off your cell phones and beeping watches now. It's a distraction, and we're just trying to get everything just flowing. We request that you treat all candidates fairly, of course. Please remain quiet. This is a big one. Up throughout the forum, no clapping, no cheering, no calling out, with the exception that after the closing statements, you may clap, of course, for all candidates if you wish. No campaign literature or signs are allowed inside the room. You are encouraged to submit questions to the candidates. And that's going to be happening. We'll do a section, we'll do the Q&A, excuse me, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience or those on social media. And we can ask your question. We'll do that at every single section. So I hope that you feel like you're part of the program. Questions must be addressed to all candidates, must apply to the issues at hand, qualifications for office, etc. Raise your hand, and it's going to be very simple if you'd like to be part of that discussion, and then a staff member will come over and as time allows, just kind of get going through your questions because you are part of this conversation. That's one of the great things that I love about Alianza. It's not just me, the woman who works in TV doing politics. It's not you who's been in charge of this organization. You, the public, the voters, get to be part of that conversation. And I hope you feel included because that's been a main goal. Questions from the audience, I know it's a lot of housekeeping, will be taken at the center of the room. You can line up either side, I suppose, and we'll figure that out. Please keep your questions short. My producer tells me that all the time. I try to listen. So keep your questions short if you can, no more than 30 seconds, and then we'll get going. So let's go ahead and talk about District 47. Yes. Who's ready? Yes. I'm ready. Okay, so we'll start here to my right, the incumbent of Paula Stark. Representative, you have 3 minutes to go ahead and do your opening statements.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to be here with all of you this evening and everyone that's at home paying attention. Obviously, we're glad that you're listening to us, but I kind of question whether or not you have something better to do. But at the same time, I want to let you know a little bit about myself. I am the incumbent in the current district, and I want to thank those of you who sent me to Tallahassee to represent you. It has been quite an honor and quite an interesting journey. And so I look forward to being able to continue to do that on your behalf and hopefully be a voice that is for everyone. I think I've made great strides in trying to do that on your behalf this past 2 sessions, and I would continue to do that for you going forward. A little bit about me. I am pretty much a native Floridian, except for Joel likes to tell everybody I'm from LA, which is really lower Alabama. And that's because my family lived in North Florida at the time, and there was no hospital, and so they had to cross the state line to have me. And then we always lived in Florida. But my home has always been Florida, either North Florida, when my family kind of migrated down into the southern area for a lot of reasons. And so I've gone back and forth over many, many years, but I have lived here permanently since 1970. So I went to high school here, I went to school at FTU, and I've been here ever since. And one of the things, as we were running for office the first time, is I came to realize that one of the things that would be really, really important to me and for this particular district, it would be to be a unifier and to try to be able to reach everyone, no matter what their walk of life is. And so I hope I've done that on your behalf. Some of the things that I have done previously is I have worked in the newspaper. I was in the newspaper business for 29 years, ending that career with as publisher. When I left there, I went to Main Street. So Ebeth mentioned Kissimmee Main Street. Well, we also have St. Cloud Main Street, which, by the way, is in District 47. And so I am the executive director there, and I have worked there for 13 years now. I think we've made great strides in all of those areas to better our downtowns. So I look forward to continuing to help create an environment where our jobs can be created and our businesses can do well and our communities can come together. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to this evening.
Okay, we continue now going down the line. Andrew Jang, your 3 minutes, sir.
Well, good evening. My name is Andrew Jang, and I welcome everybody here tonight to sit down here to listen to our important message here today. I was born in Taiwan, so I'm so grateful I have finished my higher education in America here, from my master to my PhD. So I have lived in Central Florida and Osceola County for more than 30 years. And I'm so grateful the people who support me to be a technological entrepreneur for my past 20 years. So I'm strive for this particular missions. And I have a privilege to call Osceola County and Kissimmee as my hometown. So as active volunteers and the community leaders, I'm so proud to be owner of this technological entrepreneur, using my talents, my skills to serve our community. Now, so many times that when I went to our community to work with homeless people, to work with our seniors people, I know this town, these communities, this county, we have so much we need to accomplish. And we need your support. And that's one of the reasons I'm coming here. I want to bring a good proposal, good opportunity on the table to ask our community to support us and give us the opportunities and to make this a better place, particularly on the District 47. A lot of you guys know, it's 2 years ago we redistrict, which is including St. Cloud, Osceola County, Kissimmee, and a part of south of Orange County as well. So these are high-tech Lake Nona areas, NASA on the east coast, and we have a new developed new city in our county, which is Osceola County. So I believe I can bring a better proposal and a good opportunity into our district to build our good economic development as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Let's continue going down the line. Anthony Nieves, you get 3 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation. This is a great Alianza for Progress event. Alianza for Progress, for a number of years, has been stimulating the community with voter engagement, with environmental protection awareness, and various other topics of discussion. But my name is Anthony Nieves, and I'm a Democratic Party candidate for House District 47. I've been a resident of House District 47 for close to 2 decades. I've spent the majority of my adult life as a resident of House District 47. And prior to that, I was a transplant from New York. I was also the 2022 Democratic Party nominee, losing to Representative Stark by a little over 1%. I'm seeking a rematch, and from the day that we lost, we were the first to file for the 2024 elections to make sure that the voter engagement in the areas that did not show up to vote, this time show up to vote, to truly reflect the opinion and the desires of the people. I want to continue by stating that, and it's also something to stimulate the conversation, whether it's during or post the forum. I stand before 2 other Democratic Party candidates, but I will tell you one thing about my opponents, and this is just in general, and without any name mention. I stand as the only Democratic Party candidate that is registered to vote by mail. Now, that is quite telling, because with all of the engagement that we have in our community and all of our community organizations that fight daily to see that that number rises, and in contradiction to the voter suppression that we see every day, it's quite telling. We cannot talk about vote by mail and early voting if you yourself are not registered to vote by mail. That is what is going to stimulate the base. We also have one of our 3 Democratic Party candidates that's not even a resident of House District 47. And that is important to understand. We sitting before you, I should say, there is a candidate that is not a resident of House District 47, not even registered to vote in House District 47. So when the election comes around, that individual is going to have another name for a representative that's not in their race. I need you to look into those details, spread that information, and turn out the truth, because this is all about representing where we stand. I want to thank you all, and I hope to seek your vote again to be the Democratic Party nominee for House District 47. I thank you for being here today.
All right, and we continue now with our 4th candidate for tonight, Maria Rebellos. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight. I'm very excited about having a time to talk with community leaders, with people that I see every day, crossing the streets in our community, knocking on doors with us, also with the leadership of Alianza that has been friends and allies for a long time. I'm very excited about this. My name is Maria Rebellos. I'm the Democratic candidate also for House District 47. All my life, I've been a community organizer. Since Puerto Rico, I started in Puerto Rico back in 1999 when we were trying to fight to get the right to organize for public sector workers. I was blessed at that opportunity to have the chance to go and lobby to pass that new law for the island of Puerto Rico. And since then, I haven't started working with the communities, marching for environmental rights, picketing with workers, fellow brothers and sisters, through healthcare, through the machinists, through the steel workers, and also I have done a lot of global work through my own personal foundation, Rebellas Michelle Foundation, that gives scholarships opportunities for children in Dominican Republic, in Panama, Colombia, and now we are supporting as well children in Ukraine that have been displaced by the war, give them the opportunity to get scholarship here in the United States. Right now we have 5 students from our program that are D1 students in different universities, and they just show the world that the best of the Latino community, the best of the global community, at the end of the day is the American dream that we all have entitled to dream about. And for my whole life, since I arrived, the District 47 has been my whole life here in Florida. My first house was in Meadow Woods. I currently live in Kissimmee. I have a daughter and a sister that live in BBL, and I have another daughter that lives in St. Cloud. And what I have known, I actually came here to work with the communities that were displaced from Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, 100,000 of them. I resigned to my job in the union in New York and flew without a job, without a home, without nothing else, that hope and the desire to help my my people, our people. Went into hotels with them, hotel rooms, went into the airports, lobby for better laws for them. And at the end of the day, this is what we want. We want better working conditions for all. We want a district that we all can be proud of. We want a district that we all can live and have dignity lives. And that's why I'm running for State House District 47. Hopefully you will leave tonight all supporting me as well. Thank you.
Okay. We have a lot to unpack here. Lots of big, important topics with 4 people who are stepping up to the plate. Remember, we have 5 different sections, multiple sections, topics. We're going to go by topics. So the first one is resilience, climate change, sustainability. Not in my notes, but I think I'm going to throw a little extra in there for this section, possibly commuter rail traffic. That could be a thing that could be squeezed into climate change because fewer cars on the roads could lead to a better environment, I suppose. So you can, pepper that in there. Here's the first question. And we're going to start in the opposite side of the room. Since we start opening statements, we'll start the opposite and we'll just go down the line. So we'll start with you, Maria Rebelles. And then we'll have the same question for everybody. What are your thoughts on the current impacts, if you feel there are any, regarding climate change here in Osceola County? How will you address these challenges as a state representative in District 47? And let me add a little asterisk. Where I grew up in Puerto Rico, climate change back in the day, if íbamos a visitar a alguien en el campo, if you're going to the mountainside, detrás de las tiendas, sometimes behind a shopping mall, you would see just like discarded shopping carts, basura, tires, that kind of thing. And that always impacted me as a young person. Wow, how can we do that to our environment? And so it's different here in the mainland. I know it's a work in progress in Puerto Rico, but climate is so very important. Everybody can do their aportar su granito de arena, do something about it. So what's your stance on climate change in this district?
Definitivamente, and just like you, actually, my first thoughts about climate and the impact of climate and the environment happened while we were trying to get the Navy out of the island of Vieques. That's an island on the side of Puerto Rico. And basically, we had a lot of concerns about the impact that the guns and all of that was left in the island was causing skyrocketing cancer cases in the island. So that's when I really started tying the environmental work with the social rights and the civic rights work. That was my first time. Many of you know that I was the founder of CHISPA. CHISPA was the first Latino and environmental and climate organization here in Central Florida. So I have worked quite a bit with that issue. I think it's very important for us. Actually, that's part of my platform, that we deserve clean water and a clean environment. I think that a lot of the things that we should have done and we could have done is invest in taking care of the buses that our children go back and forth to school. I think we can invest and we can have cleaner electric buses in our communities. I think that is a major concern to me. I see many children, for example, that live in hotels and, you can smell the bus and you can hear the bus before even you see the bus. So I think that's something important we should take into consideration. I think especially in House District 47, we need to be careful. We have beautiful bodies of water here, but what good is it if we don't think about the impact that nutrients get on them? Like, for example, blue-green algae, or, closer to the shore, red tide. I think we have a lot of work to do. And to me, it's importantly, of a big concern when we have a governor that decided to wipe out the language of climate and climate change from our legislation in Tallahassee, and we're just gonna, look into the other side and decide it's fine and it's not a problem. I think that we need to be more active. We need to use our voice. I think we are here. So many people has been displaced due to climate change to the Central Florida area. So I know that my neighbors care about those issues. climate change impacts everything. It even impacts how much we pay for insurance in our houses, the quality of life that we have. So I think this is a huge question that it will take me more than 3 minutes, but I'm going to respect the laws of the forum. Definitely, there's so much that we can do, and there is so much that we should be doing.
Okay, thank you. Anthony Nieves, you're up. Same topic. What are your thoughts on the current impacts of climate change in Osceola County? How will you address the challenges as a state representative district of 47?
Right off the bat, we have to invest in Florida's natural resources. 2022, just before the general election, we saw a tropical storm, not a hurricane, a tropical storm leave sections of House District 47 underwater for several days, including where I live in Buenaventura Lakes, underwater. I mean, it's quite eye-catching when you look out your second floor window and you see Sheriff Marco Lopez going up and down Simpson Road on an airboat. This is just a week or two prior to the elections. Global warming is present. We see it, we complain about it each and every day. We're looking at the forecast and we see the temperatures continually rising. If we're not investing in smart growth, then we're going to have issues where, the proper tributaries and arteries of our lakes are not going to be properly managed, and we're going to have continued flooding. It's ironic and it's kind of interesting when you look at the two most underserved areas of House District 47. When you look at Buenaventura Lakes, Florida, which is where I've lived for the last 17 years, and you look at, for example, Michigan Avenue in House District 47 in St. Cloud. These are areas that suffered tremendously as a result of flooding, as a result of too fast growth and not smart growth. What I would do is definitely amplify those concerns within the community. We have to be forceful. We have to show our fellow representatives in Tallahassee what we're dealing with on both sides of the aisle. This isn't a topic whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. This is what is right for your community. And I was not content with being in an area, in a neighborhood that was underwater for several days, and everyone is just left to wait till the water recedes, and that's allowing Mother Nature to take back what's hers. We can't deal with that anymore, and we really have to put forth and invest. Organizations like Alianza for Progress have done tremendous jobs and strides in terms of their advocacy for Split Oak Forest. Split Oak is on the news on a daily basis. The growth, the expansion, the rapid expansion that is causing destruction to our natural resources. Now, I know this as a person who was endorsed by the Save Split Oak campaign, that we have to prioritize that now. We have to attend our commission meetings, our city meetings, and forums like this so that you can see what's being brought to the table and what you should not fall for and become bamboozled with. My name is Anthony Nieves, and on this question, I'm going to encourage you to come out and vote, and to vote for my candidacy, Anthony Nieves, for House District 47. Thank you.
Okay. Lots to process there. And now we have Andrew Jang with your take on climate change. What would you do to improve that, to help with that in District 47?
Well, climate change is the big issues, and we're not talking about right now or this current time. We're talking about sustainable for our next future generations. As we know, our Mother Nature's up in the thousands, the millions years in our district, 47, or many different places as well. But just 2 years ago, when Hurricane Ian came to these areas, the damage, the flooding for Buenaventura's community and the Kissimmee communities, and the people suffering for flooding, not working, transportation, you go nowhere. And our local governments, I'm not sure what kind of a regulation we have could make it better, but I think it is important. We not just sit there to waiting for climate change, that this big issue happen, but we need to be a little bit more proactive. So on our District 47, we have two beautiful lakes, Kissimmee Lake, East Lake, and West Lake, and also the St. Cloud as well. The big lakes there. Our retention ponds in each community, do we have enough the management, the manpower to make it better? I think for the tech guys like me now, we have a good technology to be able to make they supervise, to know what's going on. So if I get into the Tallahassee, I would say we will recommend our government have a good regulations to check. We should have an audit system to do that too. So not just for now, we talk about we living in a place, we're suffering for the flooding, but what about our regular times? We drive all the cars, the traffic in our communities. Everybody know that we're suffering for that. How many carbons have been polluted into our airs? So I always said I would and I will aim to our public transportation. We can minimize the cars, many cars on the street to cause the carbon pollution. But we need to have a good public transportation to help our citizens. And we need to have a good public transportation system, the traffic light system, the bus lane systems, and let people to know they enjoy this community and to be able to go to work and live in this good life in this community as well. And I'm looking for your support so we can have a good regulation in our governments, local and the state as well.
Thank you so much for that. And now we move on. And by the way, Representative Paula Stark, your comments on the environment. And then afterwards, we're going to do the Q&A real quick for anybody from the audience. And I'm going to have a lightning round. Ooh, it's a yes or no question for all four of you. But I'll let you get through first, Representative.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first of all, as you know, I've been in Florida my entire life, and so I've seen many storms. And I can tell you that they haven't necessarily increased in intensity. It just depends on the storm. I can tell you when I was very young, and I won't tell you what year it was because then you might have to count backwards, but we still had category 5s just like we do now. And so I don't think the environment is the creator of our problems. I think it's the growth that we're experiencing that is creating the environment with our challenges. I too, after Ian, we drove around BBL. My first home was in BBL, so we were very interested to see what was going on there. Part of the problem in BBL is it never should have been built to the extent that it was built in that particular area. It is not made for that. We have several areas that have been approved for growth and development that should not have been built there, and that's where we see the majority of the flooding. A lot of those issues are local issues that need to be addressed and not necessarily state issues. I will also tell you that with those things happening, we did address the Michigan Avenue in St. Cloud, 192 in St. Cloud, BBL in St. Cloud for appropriations in the last 2 sessions. I put those through, and unfortunately, all of those particular items did get vetoed. So we were not able to do that, but they are moving forward. The county is working on the BBL initiative and trying to get those things resolved. Where I live in the east side of St. Cloud was also an issue. I've lived in my home 36 years. I've never been concerned about it flooding just because of the location where we are. However, it was about 3 feet from flooding this past time. If I ever flood, trust me, our whole county is underwater. But those are the initiatives that have been taken on our behalf. We do need to look at the development, where they should be, how it should be. We need to create another avenue other than the concrete jungle that gets us flooded. Additionally, I want you to know that we did address a couple of initiatives. Lake Runnymede Mobile Home Park had a horrendous water situation this past year. We addressed that personally through our district office, and also Whittier, which is right outside of our district, which was very, very vital. That community had about 55 people who live there. Their water is toxic. And we did get appropriations home this year to take care of that, in addition to appropriations for both of our lakes to being cleaned. And then that will be able to help that particular water scenario as well. So there are initiatives being taken, and thank you very much for listening to all of those pieces.
Okay, as we keep on rolling, before we get to the next section, anybody have questions from the audience while we look to see if there are any, or on social media? This is the lightning round. It's a yes or no question. I'm sorry. It's not on my script, but I'm just itching to ask this. Would you support, yes or no, getting rid of plastic bags across the state of Florida? And people would have to bring their own totes, all right? Like a little canvas tote. There's some recyclable big bags that we see at various supermarkets. Would you be for, yes or no, again, when it comes to,
Yes.
you would be in favor of getting rid of the plastic bags? Okay, and how about for you?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, and Mr. Zhang?
100% yes.
Okay, and Representative Stark?
Yes.
Okay, you heard it there, on the record. All right, questions regarding the environment, resilience, climate change, sustainability? Anybody? Okay, and I guess, yes, what's your question? I guess I'm going to come over so we can hear you. So sorry. What's your first name?
Joel.
Joel, okay, what's your question?
So I'm just wondering if any of them, we're talking about how much worse the storms are, but if any of the candidates are aware, right where we were standing, Hurricane Donna, 1960, we were underwater right here.
Wow.
So we talk about how much worse the storms are, how much worse the flooding is. The lake was right where we're at in 1960. Unfortunately, I remember that. So, but I'm just wondering if any of the other ones were aware of that when we're talking about how much worse the storms are.
So you think growth is an issue?
It is part of the issue, sure. Like the representative said, we have all kinds of subdivisions where there were swamps that should have never been built.
Okay, so do any of you remember that, 1960, or had heard of it?
Unfortunately, yes. My family, my grandparents lived on Neptune Road, right as you turn from downtown. And they were literally driving boats up and down the streets here downtown Kissimmee. My grandfather, we lived in a two-story house on Neptune Road. And the humorous story that everybody liked to tell was my grandfather's version of solving the problem was drilling holes in the floor so the water could run out. So yes, it has not gotten any different. We have really bad storms all the time, but that did happen back in the day in Kissimmee.
Yes, of course. Okay, we're going to hear from Ms. Levella.
I don't remember that I wasn't born, but yeah, for the record, but definitely we cannot say that the exception is the rule. Scientists tell us that the planet is getting warmer every day. We are losing corals. We might be the last generation in Florida that will have corals. Miami is underwater right now. Miami is ground zero for climate change. So, of course, there have been storms in the past, but they are worse every year. And we do have to address absolutely growth, and we need to address growth in a smart way that works for everyone, that includes affordable housing, that includes housing that is good enough for workers to be able to commute back and forth, that includes solution for transportation. Absolutely yes, but close our eyes and say, well, there was storms 100 years ago. Well, that's not truth. That is simply not truth. The planet is getting hotter and our environment is changing, and that is a fact.
Okay, I think are we okay with that? Let's just move on to the next one because we have to get to the next, but we have more segments coming up. I think you're going to take it from here with the next section.
Thank you, Beth. The next section is civic engagement and voter registration. And as Paula Stark knows, and maybe some of the other candidates as well, in the last few cycles, we've seen more laws passing to restrict voters in different ways. For example, around vote by mail, make it now you have to renew every year. In terms of SB 1070, organizations like Alianza that have done thousands and tens of thousands of registrations throughout this region now face incredibly large fines if a voter makes a mistake on their card. And those laws have been also applied specifically to areas like here where there is Latino voters and specifically Puerto Rican voters. That is a fact, and that is something that we have seen in discovery in the suit that Latino Justice, Hispanic Federation, ourselves did to the state of Florida around this issue. So the question is, where is your stance on voter registration and democracy? Do you believe in making it harder and stricter for votes to be able to register to vote and actually vote? Or do you believe that we are going beyond the norm in what is already, in my view, a very secure process of voting in this country? We can start this time, in this way.
Well, we started the questions over here, so now we're going to follow. Anthony Nieves will be taking, and then we'll go around. Yeah.
Like I stated during my opening statement, when we look at voter suppression, we look at the fines that are being levied on our nonprofits that are out there doing what we expect our government to do, and that is to stimulate the vote, to get the true voice and representation that's needed. Again, I'm going to state this as the only Democratic Party candidate that's registered to vote by mail. That information is telling. We must engage, we must combat the legislation that's being put out to suppress our vote. And that is when that happens, you're not going to have the true representative of your community. So I would definitely be an individual that encourages vote by mail and early voting. It's something that not only my party has professed and essentially been hell-bent upon, but it's something that I believe is needed in the community that I live in, that I've lived in for close to 20 years, and that I serve, and that I'm wanting to represent in Tallahassee. You start with vote by mail, you encourage early voting, and when you start seeing laws that hinder and that dampen those efforts, beware. Beware. This is what you need to understand, is that they're making it much more difficult to exercise your right to vote. If we lived in an urban setting where it's quicker to reach the polls, it's one thing. But we live in an area where some of our neighborhoods are far from a district, from a voting precinct. They're not able to walk. They're not able to drive, or they're not able to take the public transportation that's needed to reach their precinct and vote for any election. So I'm definitely against any type of voter suppression. I encourage everyone here today to vote by mail, to register to vote by mail, and to exercise your votes effectively for not just you and your family, but also for your community. If you know of a neighbor, of a friend, of a family member that is suffering or that is dealing with certain situations, you need to exercise that right to vote. I have a child who's 10 years old, nonverbal, on the nonverbal side of autism. I have a child's mother who's, dealing with, she's on clinical trials with brain cancer. These are all circumstances that might limit a person to vote. And organizations like Alianza and other community nonprofits and stakeholders should not be levied these enormous fines. These agencies, these nonprofits, they thrive on the philanthropy of our, generous donors, and also legislative action, like what Paula Stark, Representative Stark, recently secured for organizations like Alianza. They see the work is being done. We want to make sure that that work is being amplified. We want to make sure that they're receiving the proper dollar amounts and they're not being fined to the point where they're no longer able to exist. Thank you.
Yeah, Andrew Yang.
Well, we talk about democracy today, democratic system. So vote is the choice from the people. I think we're not supposed to suppress that, but we need to organize that. So definitely myself, I don't think we need to suppress to have a particular law or regulation to make a particular hour for that state. Right now, I think our regulation, we make some particular group suppressed to vote, particular peoples cannot to vote, or particular way cannot to vote. And a particular precinct, they need to close early. They need to close down the more different places to vote just because of economic reason, because of these issues. But again, we as an American here is the democracy system, democratic system. We needed to hear more people's voice. Doesn't matter what kind of people is. We needed a voice. That's why we have a representative to get the voice out, to hear the voice, to bring it to our table, to bring to our government. So definitely myself, I don't think it's suppressed the democracy or democratic system It's the right way. But not only that, we have a technology way, which is vote by mail. Yes, some people, they might have some fraud, they might have some issues, but we need to fix that. We're not suppress that because they have some issues. We need to promote that better using the new technology. And this is my personal present here today. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, I too think that we should have as many people as possible voting. And I will tell you, my household also votes by mail. So I think it's important to make it as accessible as possible. I think it's also important for us to make it convenient, but I will have to have the caveat that I also think there has to be criteria to who is allowed to vote in our country. So I think that those things are in place now, and hopefully it is, common and good for everybody across the spectrum, and that no one is discriminated against. And that would be the area that I would be most concerned with. But as far as making it accessible and doing it in a convenient method, I absolutely would support that. And I clearly support vote by mail because that's what I do. So with that, I thank you.
Maria?
Absolutely. I think that democracy in Florida is constantly under attack. During the past couple of years, we have seen further and further going on more restrictions on how we vote, on who we can vote. They have dropped down a complete list of voters that traditionally vote by mail and made them re-enroll. Constant conversations about polling places, lack of resources, lack of materials translated in the languages that the people speak. I think that's a problem. When we were able to pass, actually, Alianza was part of that huge effort, Amendment 4, to bring the right to vote to people that has formerly had incarcerated. There was also people massively voted because people believe that human beings deserve second chances, that people deserve to vote, citizens deserve to vote. But in the other side, what we got was cases that end up falling because no one was convicted about fraudulent votes. Me, as a woman of color, as a community leader that has spent my life on the trenches, registering people to vote, making sure that at the poll places we have bilingual workers, we have materials in Creole. I am more than appalled by the restrictions to the vote in Florida. And I think that is completely unfair that organizations like the one that I lead, that like Alianza, cannot be able to register voters in a cultural competency matter, in the way that they recognize us and in their communities. I think that's a huge problem. I think that's a problem that actually can be solved and should be solved. I think that the courts have said a couple of times, Florida, you are overstepping. People should have the right to vote. Is the backbone of our democracy. And that's why I'm going to Tallahassee, to fight across party lines, to people be able to vote and expand voting rights for our community.
So I think we should do another lightning round real quick. Yes or no question. I want to follow your example. Yeah, I'm learning from the expert. What about voting on the same day of election? So for what's it called? Same day registration. Same day registration. What that means is that you can show up, show your license plate, see all the evidence that you are actually a citizen and a eligible voter, and then sign up to vote on the same day that you're going to vote. That's the question. Are you for or against that?
For it. I'm going to use Anthony here. I have done that in Puerto Rico. I was 9 months pregnant, and I went and registered the same vote, went and voted, and then went into labor. Yes, I have.
Wow.
That's yes, I am. I'm definitely, if you are a person that is eligible to vote, then you should be able to register that same day at that moment to vote. Why would you be disallowed that opportunity. So yes.
My answer is yes, because we have a new technology today. So many information we be able to access in just a seconds. So why shouldn't we could have the same day votes just because they have some reason they need to check it here, check it there? But we have a computer today. We could check it out with so many different things. So my answer is yes. Thank you.
If the individual has the credentials that they can show that they qualify to vote, I absolutely would let them vote the day of.
So we have a lot in common here,
Yeah.
twice, very unanimous decisions twice. Is there from the audience a question? And we're gonna ask the responses to be, or from online, right? If you have questions online, if you're watching through YouTube or if you're watching through Facebook and you have a question, please submit them. They will be looked at and presented. Is there a question on this topic, on the topic of voter registration?
We gotta go back, but I don't want to leave anybody behind. And I grabbed the mic so everybody can listen to me online. These questions come from YouTube, Adriana Rivera. This is about climate change, but I don't want to leave anybody behind. It says, is climate change real and is it man-made affecting our weather? Yes or no? And what is the number one thing we can do to fight back? This is Adriana Rivera from our YouTube channel live right now.
These have to be lightning responses.
It's real, and the biggest thing that we can do is control fossil fuels. Lightning.
Yes, it definitely is real. We here as residents of House District 47 experience it virtually every day in some form or another. So it's definitely real.
I don't think we need to argue that's real or not. It is true for all of us scientists, the results. So not just the climate change is real. And the thing is, we need to have a better regulations and a more recycling system, recycling regulations, and to have the management system in our community, District 47, to make it better, the living place.
Well, I would have to say that I believe that a lot of what is happening with our climate is man-made. It is pretty much what we're doing to our environment that is changing some of the dynamics. And I think that is mostly what is happening in District 47, which is what we have to contend with and the things that we would have to make decisions about. So I'm thinking, we need to stop some of the bad behavior that we have in order to make sure that our environment is what we want it to be.
Okay, let's continue now with the next topic. By the way, if you're watching, those of you who are watching on social media, we have education, technology, arts, and culture coming up as the next topic. But after that, it'll be the economy, Amendment 4, guns. So we're going to get to those topics real quick. Oh, we have another question real quick. Okay. Hi, what's your first name?
Amaryllis. My question is, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but since we were talking about, voting, in May of 2023, we had 92,000 registered Democrats and 58,000 Republicans and like 94,000 registered independents. Currently, we have 80,000 Democrats, 58,000 Republicans, and it went down to like 87, I think, for the independents. With the influx of people moving in, I just find it clearly impossible that we have gone down so much in registered voters, and especially within the Democratic Party, that's 12,000 people that are no longer registered to vote.
So your question is, what are they doing about?
Have they noticed, and have any of them done anything to like challenge, or what are your thoughts on that, or what may have caused that?
Yes, go for it.
If I may, we need to understand a few facts. Number one, for over a quarter of a century, over 25 years, the Republican Party of Florida has had full control of every dynamic at the state level. They've had the keys to the governor's mansion for over 25 years. They've had a majority in the state house and state senate. And with that comes a supermajority of the elected, or actually the appointed judges that are put into power. So you have your judicial, your legislative, your administrative, you've got every single branch for a quarter of a century. To blame the Democratic Party for anything that has occurred in a quarter century is actually laughable, completely laughable. 25 years where if you're a Democrat and you say something or do something, you better work hard across the aisle because chances are it's not going to pass. It's not going to, escalate to the next level of its legislative process. So yes, we definitely have to focus on those areas, and it's something that I hope encourages people to go out and vote. As for
We got to keep going. Just keep going.
as for disenfranchised voters, absolutely. I mean, it's because people are not feeling the effect of their local candidates, and that's something that, in our case, we've tried to transform over the past 18 months.
Thank you so much. Let's continue, and then in the next section, we'll ask more questions from the audience. So now the section we're focusing on is education, technology, arts, and culture. I know we're putting a lot of stuff in this one category, but I have to preface this by saying that with the budget we just saw recently passed, quite a few things were sliced out, cut out. This happens in every state. It's just how it goes. But my question to you is, do you think it was the right move or the wrong move to cut some of the budget that had some programs that had to do with the arts in the state legislature? I know that's a big thing. Of course, we've got a thriving arts community here in Osceola County. Do you support these type of cuts? Yes or no, and why? And also, please reflect on the situation with books. What books can be presented or not allowed to have in a school library. So it's a mix here of technology, arts, and culture. Mr. Jang, we'll start with you. And by the way, the reason we're doing that is so everybody has a chance to be the first to have, their say on a question. So for you.
So the arts is the kind of our spirit. I don't think that the arts, the budget, we need to cut it out. We're working so hard. That's why we want to have a vacation. We want to relax. We want our family to have a good life. The arts is a part of it. So personally, myself, I definitely pro to the art. And that's not only for us, but also is the mutual communication as well. Now, the other part would be ban the book. I don't know, a long time ago, we went to the library, so many different places when the computer getting popular. We have been so privileged and the opportunity to read so many books, but those books is being, of course, being managed by the library system. But today, we have a different agenda, and they censor some certain type of a book. I don't think that's the right way to do the cultural part. Personally, myself, I was born in Taiwan. I'm proud to be a Taiwanese. I want to share the information, the knowledge, the culture, everything to the people. But I don't want to one day people tell me I cannot bring those culture or the knowledge because I'm not American. But I'm American here. We are American here because we are diversity. Minority, we have Latinos, we have Black and white, we have Asian peoples. So that's what we're proud of here, to be American here. We are stronger, we are powerful because we get together. Yes, but I do agree, we do need to censor today's computer age, information age. So many people, we got the spamming, the virus going to your system. We don't ban that part. We don't focus the budget to the technology ban for those that, like I said, the spamming, the virus. And particularly for our new generation, they play the computer game all the time. I think all of you probably knew that. They don't go out. They just play the game and sit all day. Whether it's good or bad, I think that we all knew that. But I think that's the only thing we need to be more focused on, the censor or the ban, those kind of information. We need to have our new generation, the better and stronger. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Representative Starr.
Yes, I'm going to start with the books. First of all, as a children's book author, I absolutely do not agree with book bans. I think that we're supposed to have the freedoms to choose what we want to read, what we want to view, and those kinds of things. That said, I do believe there is a place for us monitoring what is in public facilities, our public libraries, our school libraries, with some kind of specific criteria so that children cannot get their hands on certain items that would be, bothersome for any of us. However, I think those same children's parents have the right to take them any place, a bookstore, if they want to go online and purchase that book or whatever, if it's something that they're okay with their children reading or being access to. I think that is up to them, and that's where we deal with the parental rights and not book banning. As it relates to the arts, I have mixed emotions here. I am a huge arts advocate through Main Streets. We do a lot of art projects. The murals that are in downtown St. Cloud, in downtown Kissimmee, they are all through arts programs and nonprofits. And so I encourage us on a regular basis to maintain those types of programs. On the other side of the coin, if we have to balance a budget, it's really subjective as to what gets cut. And that's a very difficult decision to make. I don't know that would be the decision that I would make, but I understand that when the governor has to make some of these choices, those are his choices to make. And if that's what we have to do to balance a budget and to keep us we are the fourth largest economic driver in the country, our state. So we have created an environment that is beneficial to our businesses, and that's what we need to focus on. But I would like to be able to keep those kind of programs in place whenever possible.
Okay, Maria, now your turn on this topic.
So I want to reflect first on the book banning. I think it's devastated that a civilized society insists in book banning, especially the cuts that happen in Florida. In Florida, they ban books that had to do with immigrant community. We basically have the governor has tried to erase all the LGBTQ history, our trans history, references to those community. They even banned, for God's sake, a book based on the life of Roberto Clemente, Puerto Rican, Black, a hero, a philanthropist. So what was happening there had no rhyme or reason. I trust teachers. I trust teachers in our public schools. I trust librarians. I trust parents that have their trust in those schools. And I think that it's up to them to decide the materials that goes in the hand on our children. The government had no right. I have never seen a time in history, and history has teach us a lot, especially we don't ban the books, that every organization, every government that start banning books ends very bad. This is not the medieval times. We don't need to be burning libraries. We should be able to be moving forward education, putting Black and brown history in the laps of our children, and putting our LGBTQ community as well, talking about our heroes, talking about what's representing, and that's where I stand with my book, with the book bans. I have worked hardly, along with Alianza and many of you with us, to restore books that have been back into the school systems, because it's cruel for our children not to feel represented in the kind of books that are in their hands. The other thing, talking about the cuts in art, that's another way to cut our spirit, to cut our culture, our way of living, cutting the arts. Sadly, in the case of the Florida budget, the cuts were not a matter of living or dying. It was not the money of arts that was only cut. There were many cuts that were cruel and inhumane, cuts for nonprofit organization, cuts for housing organization, cuts for many other organizations. So there were many decisions that should have been made, and definitely starting by chopping the arts was not the right one.
Thank you. And Mr. Nieves?
The arts, I mean, it's something very dear to me. I'm an OXA dad. Now, what is OXA? OXA is the Osceola County School of the Arts. My son, along with one of our wonderful congressmen in office, Maxwell Alejandro Frost, graduated from Osceola County School of the Arts. It's a school that receives, that's what it's about. It's about the arts. So anything related to the arts, and we know that when you cut the music, when you cut our art programs, the children suffer, especially those that have disabilities or those that are limited in their abilities, like my son, again, nonverbal. The arts is an avenue for him to explore. Now, when it comes to the book banning, it hits very close to home. Why? Because when I entered the race for House District 47, everyone is seeking endorsements. And even though we received over 20 endorsements, including those from State Senator Victor Torres and our State Attorney Monique Worrell, our very first endorsement was from the Florida Freedom to Read Project. Again, I want to repeat, our very first endorsement was from the Florida Freedom to Read Project. When I ran again and currently running for House District 47, our campaign kickoff that occurred last year was at White Rose Books, which has been on the focus, which is focused on books that are banned or books that were potentially going to be banned. So when you have a campaign kickoff at White Rose, this is not yesterday, this isn't last month, this is a year ago that we entered this race and had our campaign kickoff. It's telling. $32 million is what Governor DeSantis disallowed. $32 million in itself is not much. And yet $32 million was too much for him, where all those funds were canceled. Again, our community-based stakeholders, they rely on this money, on this assistance. School board meetings, the battles that we had for the school boards. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. I can tell you that I was at dozens of these school board meetings, and very few people were at these meetings. So I felt like I wasn't just representing District 2, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when it came down to where we stand. So if you're looking for the candidate that is actually doing what they say, I'm that candidate that was at the school board meetings. That's how I became involved with the book banning, with the masking issues, with the vaccination issues. It's very dear to me, and I take this very personal. That's all I have to say.
Okay, and with that, in this particular topic, do we have questions, it looks like, from social media about education, technology, arts, and culture? Who do we have? Here, let me give you the microphone real quick.
Yes, we have a question related to education, and we don't want to leave any questions behind, but this in particular is related to the topic. Is the school voucher system working? What can we do to improve public education?
Okay, anyone? Should I just pick one first? Okay, go ahead.
I personally don't believe that it's working. The focus on the school vouchers is limiting, it's taking away the spotlight on our public school system directly. Our public school system is suffering, and a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, with the school voucher program. It's not something that's completely and fully regulated as one of our public schools. So you pretty much have some leeway in terms of what is going to be administered or not. I'm not in support of our school voucher program unless we see incredible reform to make me think otherwise. But again, this is something that I would have to bring to the people, and based on what the community of House District 47 wants, that's what I'll have to amplify in Tallahassee.
Okay, Mr. Jang, did you have anything to say about that? If not, we'll just keep moving for
Well,
the
I just
next.
have a short here. Personally, myself, I definitely pro to the public school. And should be the system we need to focus on. And we talk about the budget, the funding. And so we mentioned about a voucher. It may not be right, but because of the budget and funding. And that's the reason why I want to go to the Tallahassee. And we need to change the system. Currently, we have a different kind of school systems, the policy, the strategy, but public school, we should focus on.
Let me put this over here, just food for thought for the candidates, for the audience watching as well. I've interviewed multiple people through the years because of this very controversial topic. And some families say if they have, for example, a child that needs occupational therapy, they say that a lot of times if they stay in the public system, the wait is very long to get tested for what have you, competency, cognitive skills. So you'll be put into the system, you're gonna have to wait. So then they say, you know what? Let me find a special school where I can use a voucher. And at that school, on the premises, they can get OT. They can get all the services that they need. While if they were in the public school, they would have to wait. And also, too, let's say they get approved for whatever program at a public school, then they have to take kiddo out of school to go take them somewhere. When some schools that receive vouchers already have all the programs already on property. So what do you say to those who say they like the voucher because they can use it for those to have options? Yes, Representative.
Well, obviously, I voted for the voucher system because it is another opportunity for freedom of choice. It is one of those opportunities where no matter who you are, you have the same chance to have your child in whatever school is going to best fit the needs of your child. And so I think that has really resonated. And we've had a lot of people who have reached out to us, especially in this past year, because that's pretty much when it started trying to, come to fruition. And it is resonating with our parents, and they are feeling like they have that chance to have their child in a school that benefits all of the parts and pieces that are good for them. And in some cases, even homeschooling. So they get some of the same benefits at homeschooling, although they don't get all of it. But I have seen some really good examples that have happened, and people are really trying to look at the whole thing as a big picture item. Obviously, things always have to shift a little bit. You have to put it in place to see, where's the good things, what are the things we can improve, and those are the things that you can look at going forward. But I think the voucher system right now is making it a little bit more even kill for everyone across the board.
I think we have here two sides of the coin. I think that the opinions are as big as the subject. What I don't think needs to happen or should not happen is that our public schools, our teachers suffer because funding is being moved to private schools. I think private schools have a space in our community, just like private business, just like, private hospitals or public hospitals. But I think funding for our teachers, funding for our union teachers should not be cut and attacked just because we want to put the money somewhere else.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
We have to move on for the next one. Yeah, we have to move on. Sorry.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to another topic. And lots of times we get it all emotional about topics that are cultural or have to do with things that are not really necessarily of the bread and butter. So now this one is for the bread and butter. It's the economy. What is your economic plan for District 47? And please be specific. What existing programs do you like? Would you support, continue supporting? And which new ones do you think you can bring to District 47 to increase the opportunities for local residents to gain better employment opportunities?
And we'll start with Representative Stark on that.
Well, personally, I think the environment of our state has created an opportunity for people to move here. Obviously, you've seen the influx of all the people coming here. And there are new businesses cropping up everywhere, including in our community. And I think we maintain those environments to the best of our ability. You do have programs, I'm obviously preferential to Main Street programs because I run one. I've seen how they've worked across the state. We have approximately 60 in our state, and they're very successful. We have the one here in Kissimmee. You see how they can additionally increase the environmental flow of business acumen. And if we support those and we give them those environments, then that makes it even better. I can also tell you in St. Cloud, we have we have some wonderful things happening over there. We helped bring a riverboat in, which is on Lake Toho. Just as of today, the same gentleman came by. He has a trolley that he has been able to purchase as he has been supported in that environment. So he is going to continue to work up with organizations to be able to create a better environment for other things to offshoot of those initiatives. But I think globally, you know, one of the things that sometimes becomes controversial in our county is Neo City. It's been happening for a while. There's been a lot of money that's been infused into it. Congressman Soto has been wonderful about bringing money from the federal government and grants. We have gotten money from the state. The past 2 sessions, I've been able to bring appropriations to Neo City to help with the microchip packaging and the microchip project. Hopefully those are things that will continue to make that particular project successful and be able to bring high paying jobs, because that's really what our focus should be, is on higher paying jobs, because we all know that our economy is like pricing some of us out. So if we have to make more money, let's bring those jobs together. I know it's like, okay, how much money do we put in here to get this type of job or the number of jobs? But we cannot give up on that project at this particular point in time. We've invested too much time and energy and money into it. So those are the kinds of things that I think will benefit us in the long run. We just have to stay the course and help make that environment a positive environment.
Oh, no, we have to follow the circle. So it's, yeah, Maria.
Maria,
Yep.
next.
Okay, thank you.
I'm keeping track. We got next.
I think it's very important that we think about the composition of House District 47. A majority of our of the people that lives there is young people, and we work less than 30 miles of our work. So our commute is very short. That tells me that a lot of our workers are, blue collar workers that either work in hospitals, in the service industry, they're teachers, they work in our airports. That's a healthy economy. Everybody's working in House District 47, that's for sure. I think that a couple of things need to happen. First of all, we need to be able to pass local initiatives that allow for living wages and dignity wages at a local level. We also need to support and we need to reinforce those worker organizations in order for them to have better and stronger conversations about minimum wages, getting better contracts, getting stronger language for how much they should be paid. And we should be able to support those workers as well as being able to have Florida open for business sentiment. When we have laws that SB 1718 that had a very anti-immigrant language that scared a lot of people, I don't want my neighbors deported. I'm sure the agriculture business owners don't want their employees deported either. They don't want them to leave the state either. I think we need to fix all those things to make sure that not only House District 47, but all of us in Florida have a more fair and dignified way to make a living and to have a healthier economy that we deserve. We shouldn't be having 2 and 3 jobs to survive. We shouldn't be seeing our kids in 2-3 hours a day because we have to jump from one shift to another. We should be able to have good paying jobs, and we should be able to have it close to where we live.
It's time to cut the tax loopholes. That's what it comes down to. Billion-dollar corporations, profit-driven corporations, wealthy individuals in the state of Florida that don't have to worry about anything related to when and where the next plate of food is going to come from. Just yesterday, while we were canvassing in St. Cloud, entering St. Cloud through BVL, there was a line about 2 miles deep with people that were waiting in line, adding to the destruction of our environment by having their cars idling for numerous hours just to get a bag or a box of food to provide their next meal. You'll see that everywhere throughout House District 47. And yes, as a resident of House District 47, I'm grateful that our places of worship, our nonprofit stakeholders are contributing and assisting us with the distribution of these food articles for our needy families. But we have to cut the tax loopholes. We need to stimulate the economy, which means it can only happen if we have a healthy economy. A healthy economy would be best serving the people if we expand Medicaid, for one. If you have a healthy environment, you have a healthy economy. We want to make sure that we are in a situation where, for the most part, what we want is to be treated as an equal. There should be no situation throughout Florida where we have to worry about whether we're going to take on in a new job, whether we're going to elect for short-term disability programs and long-term disability programs. We have our people minimally insured, even those that are employed. Why? Because we have a disastrous economy and we have individuals that need to take home as much pay to support their family. And I think everyone needs to pay their fair share. Enough is enough. So I'm all for corporate tax loopholes to be, looked upon, and that's pretty much where I stand. Everyone needs to pay their fair share. Corporations, wealthy individuals, if they pay their fair share, then you will see a robust economy and a flourishing economy here in not only House District 47, but throughout the state of Florida.
Well, if we talk about business, I've been running the business for more than 20 years. And I'm running for the international business, the consultant as well. So in our District 47, my personal proposal is we're acting in the local, hire in the local. So now we have a so wonderful place, which is a Kissimmee place. We've been living here. But of course, a lot of people, they say this is the hospitality business only, the towns. So from Disney, but no more. We have a new city. We are known as. So how could our state be able to coordinate those the tripod areas? Now, of course, we have a good entertainments, the business, the holidays from the west side. East side, we have a new city. On north side, we have Lake Nona. The medical city, they could bring the international business in. In our new city, we should bring more international, more local, domestic in there. We need to hire local here. Yes, high-paying job, everybody dreaming about it. But we have a lot of people suffering. They need to go to, even just go to Orlando to work. You can see in the morning and afternoon as well, how many people have been commuted to go to work. Because here, yes, we have a new city, we have a Lake Nonas, but where's the business? So from my experience, not just international business experience, but also for domestic as well, we have a wonderful heritage park here. We should have that to be our convention center, other than go to Orlando. This is the wonderful high-tech convention center place. And we should have our state to make a more the focus in our region, which is District 47. And so that's why my proposal here is to bring the business as not just the high-tech, but medical, but as well as entertainment for all this area. District 47 is waiting for those kind of a proposal, which is I could put on the table. Thank you.
And from the audience, anyone have a question around the economy that you'd like to ask? Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here spaced out.
Yeah, so my question is, we're talking about businesses, economy, taxes, but if you take a look around at Kissimmee, Osceola County, there's a lot of homeless. And I believe that the talk of affordable housing tends to keep, and I'm speaking from a place of authority because I've worked in Orange County, started a number of programs for the homeless. So this is something that I could speak from experience. Every program that I've started in Orange County for some reason, we always had an influx of Osceola County homeless people going to Orange County for those resources. So, and these are people that don't have income for affordable housing. They're looking for their next meal, like the gentleman said. What is the plan for them? Because I feel like they need a voice as well. Osceola County seems to steer away from shelters, and they want the big organizations to come through, the Disneys, which is kind of a catch-22 in a way, because the more business you get, the more higher the rents go, the more higher the taxes. So let's talk about some real life issues. What's the plan? Because you could only go so much on wages without affecting the local business owner as well.
Yeah, that's
right. So what's the plan to holistically make a growth from the ground up, cover everyone who has not been covered? And just like steroids and people that go in the gym, I believe this growth is artificial. And eventually, if it doesn't keep getting pumped up with these economic steroids, it will drop, and it is
That's
dropping.
interesting. That's really interesting. Thank you for that question. You bring up a good point. By the way, 1,000 people a day move to the state of Florida. This is when we do these shows and we get stats from the Orlando Economic Partnership. And so they have stats overall, 1,000 people a day and 1,000 people a week move to Central Florida. These are the issues that we have to talk about, and homelessness is one of them. So your thoughts real quick, what would any of you do about that?
Homelessness is something that is dear to my heart. Prior to moving down to the state of Florida in 2004, I was actually a fraud investigator and special investigator for the New York City Department of Homeless Services. So it's something that I have a lot of expertise with. And I was extremely disappointed when I first moved to Osceola County to see that they had no shelter system in place, not even a diversion unit, aside from what our stakeholding community organizations were able to provide. And that is ridiculous. Our own community, our own people are not being afforded the opportunities that you would have throughout other areas of this country. So we definitely need to start with the incorporation of a diversion unit to better decide what might be the best route to take for our citizens. And as a state representative, I look forward to implementing or at least presenting that policy for legislation in Tallahassee.
Okay, Representative Stark, you want to say something very quickly?
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I want to note is because the city of Kissimmee is actually addressing some homelessness, because they are converting a motel off of 192 that will be addressing homelessness, and part of that would be veterans homelessness in that facility, and it is in the process of being built or renovated currently. The other thing I would like to say is, because so many of our homeless are actually our veterans, that does have to be a focus. And I will tell you that is a significant priority for myself and my office. And one of the things that we will be working on, we've been trying to do that. We put appropriations in for a mobile unit for them to be the beginning of a veteran resource center, with which I believe that our local governments and some businesses that we've already talked to are going to come to the table. They are going to address that. We already have some folks in place that are going to bring that forward. Hopefully that particular piece will be located in St. Cloud, because they're offering the land up. So that will be helpful there.
Thank you. If the other two have any comments on this, maybe save it for your closing statements as part of your mix. And we're adjusting as we go, as we say in the TV biz, on the fly, because we want to make sure, excuse me, that we get more questions from the audience and folks online. And so that's what we have right here before we move on to the next topic.
Yes, this topic has been very caliente online. It says here, Adriana Rivera from our YouTube channel, immigrants and the economy go hand in hand. After SB 1717, we have seen hardworking immigrants flee our state and workforce. How do you emulate these effects for those families and the economy?
Thank you for that question. And I mean, you've seen it. I've seen the construction sites. They've gone like bone dry, many of them. And you go, where are the workers? Well, I think you've got the answer. Go ahead.
I think that's part of what I said in the beginning. I think SB 1718 was a blow to our economy, was a blow to our communities as well. I think we need to work in bipartisan solutions that are welcoming to our communities, that do not demonize our immigrants, and that are open to different solutions. I think that even when those solutions could not necessarily come with or could not pass, because I remember last past session there was a package of laws that was called welcoming immigrants. I believe it was from Senator Torres, that didn't pass, didn't even had a hearing. But we can always use our platforms. We can always use our communities. We can always bring our people to the center, write columns of opinions, open town halls, and let the people raise their voice against laws that are unfair, that are discriminatory, and at the end of the day, make no one no good. I think that's why I want to go to Tallahassee, to make Florida a more fair place.
Okay, let's continue now. We're going to do another adjustment here for the sake of getting all the topics that we have on our rundown in. So the answers, this is for youth candidates, instead of 3 minutes, you'll have 2 minutes on these questions. We will start with Maria first on this one, and then make our way around. This has to do with the U.S. Supreme Court. As we know, we just marked 2 years, actually, since Roe v. Wade was struck down. So you, the voters here in the state of Florida, will get your chance coming up in November. So it doesn't matter whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, no party affiliation. This is your time to have your voices heard on this. What is your position on Amendment 4 here in Florida, and why?
Amendment 4. First of all women and all men of conscience that are here, step up and vote on Amendment 4. Amendment 4 is our right to choice and our right to keep the government outside of our bodies. I strongly support Amendment 4. I'm a person of faith. I am a mother of 5 daughters as well. And I think that we need to fight for our daughters to have control over their bodies and over their reproductive rights. I think that is very important also that we understand that there is no reason that our daughters right here in Florida in this day have less right than what our grandmothers had in the 70s. That is an assault on women. That law is not to support any children or any babies, because when the baby is born, where is the support system for them? Where is the housing that we were talking about? Where is the good benefits? Where is the healthcare for those babies? It's nothing. There is not a support system. It's only an attack of women's rights. So I think that everyone should live here making sure that we support Amendment 4. And that's one of the reasons that I want to go to Tallahassee, because I work very hard to get the right to vote for returning citizens. And then I saw, I'm afraid that the same can happen when Amendment 4 is going to pass flying colors here in Florida, and then the legislators in Tallahassee are going to try to butcher our rights and to silence our voices. That is not that is not acceptable, not in my watch. So absolutely vote yes on Amendment 4 and make sure that you get out and vote.
Okay, Mr. Nieves. Mr. Nieves.
I'll go ahead and piggyback on that as well. You must vote in favor of that amendment. It's something that has been disastrous. Again, I mentioned the 25 years. If you've lived here for 25 years, you have seen firsthand how everything has eroded, how your rights and your privileges have continued to erode day after day, actually legislative session after legislative session. So you must corral your neighbors, your family members, those within your own household to register to vote by mail, to vote early, and to do the things that will make that effective change. The government has no business in the healthcare decisions of a woman. That is fact. The fact that we have people that are considering leaving Florida, that's the opposite of what we need in the stimulating economy. To seek healthcare coverage. How embarrassing is that? That's what has occurred over the past 25 years. Let's put a stop to it now in 2024. This is your time. This is your moment to vote for one of the four representatives here that actually one of the three representative candidates here that actually lives in House District 47. So this only applies to the three candidates that live in House District 47. Do the right thing, broadcast and amplify the right message to the constituents of House District 47.
Okay, let's continue down the road. Mr. Jang, your stand on.
Amendment 4, yes, of course. It's not just a woman's right. I think it's a human being's right. And a woman is been fighting for their life. And then now our government want to regulate for a particular way because of their own body. They should make their own decision. They have the right to make their own decision. And now our Florida state, Tallahassee, they even make it harder for this particular season. So they try to attack our women, and they try to attack my parents, my daughters, those people. So we start from this woman's right. Then what's the next? So I think not only we should prove all this, but also we need to support more funding to help our women to be able to get health. Of course, I agree with that. The government has no right to deal with our own health. This is not our own business. But yes, Amendment 4, yes.
Representative Stark.
Well, I will tell you that I am glad this is going to a referendum and that you all get to make the decision, because I voted against the heartbeat bill on the floor this past 2 sessions ago. Not only did I vote against it, I also voted for a Democratic amendment that supported women's right to have one physician, not 2 physicians, give them the opportunity or give them the medical release to be able to have an abortion. Because let's face it, across our state, we have a lot of rural areas that sometimes you don't have clinics or doctors that are that close. And I know any of you, if you've tried to get in a doctor recently, you are not going to get in one in 6 weeks, much less 2. So I voted against that particular amendment, and very interesting things happened to us as it related to that particular vote. And then after the vote against the 6 week, what we call ban, that was another interesting adventure as well. So I support the fact that we, although I would not do that personally, it is a personal opinion for me and probably for my family. I would try to stop them if they could, because I don't want them to get rid of my grandchildren. But at the same time, I think we've gone a bridge too far, and we need to back up, regroup, and I'm actually glad that it's on the ballot.
Okay, let's open it up to questions from the audience, and or I'm not going to do a lightning round just so we can keep going. From anybody watching online, YouTube, do you have any questions? If not, we'll just keep going to the next topic. Yep, let's go ahead and continue. So you've got the floor. Oh, let me come to you. Hang on one second. What's your first name and what's your question?
Jackie Espinoza. And I have a question specifically for the Democrats that are running. And I think it's important that we can kind of talk to the people about, I'm going to read it for you because I've been trying to text so I don't, write it down because I don't want to forget it. If this seat flips to the Democrat Party, what are your plans on passing legislation and getting appropriations to our district? Right now, we are the minority party in Tallahassee, so it's important that we kind of see the bigger vision. How do you plan to bring appropriations here? Because whatever you bring here affects us at the local level, and that's what I'm more concerned about. Tallahassee is great, but my concern is the local level. So we could talk about all these great incentives and all these great amendments, and that's a great point. But how does that affect us here locally? So I'd like to hear from the Democrats and Representative Stark. I'm not trying to leave you out of this. You own the seat, so we'd like to hear from the Democrats how you would bring appropriations here to our local, to affect our local economy.
Thank you for that question. Okay, you got it. Democrats, go for it.
I think that's a beautiful question, Jackie, and I think that's the important thing, right? You go somewhere else, but at the end of the day, you have to serve your constituents. I think that's where it's important for a candidate to have their hand in the polls, to have great relationships with community organizations, with people that live in their community, and really bring them to the table and see, you know, what is needed, what is supposed to be happening, what is not happening. And basically that's the plan, right? To bring the appropriations to our community that is a vibrant community, and have conversations with, you know, entrepreneurs and across the table.
Okay.
I think in District 47, we have a 2 county and a 2 city as well, Kissimmee and the St. Cloud, Osceola County and Orange County. So definitely the local is our constituency areas. We work every day with the people, and this all from this area. So even the office, with the office, whatever discussion is in the Tallahassee. So we should bring the information down here to talk to our local government here to work with the people and have a more transparent, more information to disseminate it to the people, let the people to know, other than just in the Tallahassee. So that's one of my proposal.
Yeah, what we need to do is, of course, we're not just a minority, we are a super minority, the Democratic Party is in Tallahassee. What we want to do is we need to focus on those good Republican legislators that also have underserved communities in their House district. And we need to make those comparisons. We need to pretty much amplify the situation that we have in certain areas of our district and compare them to those disenfranchised areas in other House districts that are under Republican Party, you know, control. By doing that, you'll emphasize the need for all the constituents in the community, because you can come from the most affluent community or the most affluent House district in Florida and still have pockets that are underserved. We need to reach out to those pockets, make that correlation, and that's how I believe you can extend your hand across the aisle to actually effectuate change in Tallahassee.
Well, thank you very much. And we're going to go to our last topic of the evening before turning to opening for questions from the audience. Just yesterday, the Surgeon General announced how much of an impact gun violence has become in this country, particularly for our youth, for young people. It's the #1 cause of death for youth. It's not only the growing number of mass shootings that we've seen across the years. Here in Florida, we've evidenced some of the worst in Parkland, and here in Orlando, the tragedy of Pulse. This is becoming completely unsustainable. And how do you plan to address the loosening of the gun laws here in the state of Florida at a moment where gun violence is becoming such a large impact to the health, particularly of our young people, but not just our young people, women, the most vulnerable, and also suicide?
Well, I support making sure that if you're going to buy a gun, you have to be 21 years of age or older, and you should have the proper training to utilize that firearm. I'm a firearm owner, but I see that what we have here is completely out of control. Now, prior to moving to Florida, I spent my entire life in not only the poorest congressional district in America, New York's 15th congressional district, but it was also one of the most violent in the country. Yet, when you look at our schools, our public schools in New York City, you see that you don't really have gun violence occurring in the schools, but the neighborhoods ridden in gun violence. We need to, again, focus on our victims. You know, we have too many mothers losing their children, and once the child is buried, that's it. It's a forgotten situation. We don't see any action from many of our local officials to combat gun violence in our community. And when you look at Osceola County is not an affluent county in comparison to most other counties in the state of Florida. But we have our pockets of extreme violence, and it's only when we, again, you know, it has to hit home. If it doesn't hit home, if you don't personalize it, then you're not going to have an audience. We've all either lost or know someone who has died as a result of gun violence. What are we doing to this day for those that we know that have suffered a loss from gun violence? If the answer is nothing, then you need to become more motivated. You need to make that change. And you can start by voting this upcoming August and November for a candidate that's truly going to know what it is to deal with gun violence, who has experienced it firsthand, family members that have died way too early. It's a touchy situation, but I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Jang?
Based on the gun control, I think we need to have a more stricter control for the gun usage. That's my proposal. But also education. So we need to bring a more criminal justice education to the high school, to even younger age, or general public, to easier to access that. So let them know to how, number one, to have knowledge to how to use the gun. Number two, also to know what's the consequences after that. So that's important. When the victim's family, when whatever the young people, they use the gun without any kind of intentions. Or maybe there's a thought they just from the game, they thought this is a toy. So I think that we need to have more education, not just the school system, but from the sheriff's office, from police department, all social workers. We need to have a more educational system to better to our young generation as well. Thank you. This is my proposal.
I agree with Mr. Chang. I think education is probably the first and foremost of anything. Most of the time, if kids are not exposed to guns, if they are not taught the right thing and the wrong thing to do with guns, then they have no sense of what the power is that they've just been given. So education has to start first and foremost. I happen to believe in the Second Amendment. It was put in our Constitution for a reason, and I think we need to promote that. I also think that the people who are selling guns have to be held accountable to adhere to the laws that are in place for the background checks, for the waiting periods, and to make sure that those things keep the guns out of the hands of those individuals who may be dangerous. But the number one issue that I think is plaguing us as it relates to gun violence is mental health. And we really need to address the mental health issues that we are looking at in our community. That is something that has been happening. I've had a constituent this past year that I almost was on the phone with daily for over 9 months. He needed help with his daughter. He was having a terrible time going through that process. And Rep. Maney, who is out of North Florida, and myself, I co-sponsored his bill to help with the Marchman Act and to get some behavioral and mental health assistance did pass. And so I think we have to really look at those kinds of issues, because that, to me, is really where the breakdown is. And I hope that we put more emphasis on that.
I believe that the gun problem in Florida is definitely out of control. Gun violence is an issue that touched my heart very deeply. My house was a victim of gun violence. I became a widow very young. My husband was 28 years old when he died of a gun violence incident. So definitely, I know that a big part of the problem is that anyone without proper identification, without education, without any background check, has the access to a gun. That is not right, and it's costing us. When we hear in the news that children think that because they have seen their parents with a gun, they just know exactly where they are. They go and get it, and they kill their sibling, or they kill the kill teacher, or they pull a teacher, a gun in the school. That is devastating. I think there are initiatives that not only cost with checking backgrounds, checking for mental health, making sure that people that has incidents of domestic violence in their record don't have access to guns. That's all the things that women think about. This is the thing that women need to be elected to legislature and to the bodies that are making those decisions. We need to have programs that are education, but in cultural appropriate settings. We need to bring pastors to these conversations. We need to bring teachers to these conversations. We need to bring doctors to these conversations, because this country is being eroded by violence, but gun violence that is devastating us. I think we need to put education in the middle, and I think we need to put control on who has access to gun and fire and different arms in this country, and I think it needs to start now.
Thank you. And we're going to end this session with a lightning round, military grade guns, military grade, yes or no?
No, they don't have space here.
No, including all the stocks and accessories that can convert a conventional firearm into a automatic firearm. Absolutely no, but no to the initial question.
No.
Well, I'll have to disagree only because they are not military grade guns, and it is a misnomer. I think we have to educate ourselves better on what the guns are, what they mean, and what they do. The guns that you're thinking are military, our military would never use that in war or any other aggressive prospect. So I think it goes back to education. It does, they're single shots, just like everything else. You have to pull the trigger each time. They're not automatic weapons. And we do have to just do the education, and it goes back to, your Second Amendment right. So
thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. And now we're going to go to a quick round of questions from the audience.
Very quickly, because I'm looking at the clock.
Let's try to keep the answers as close as possible, as short as possible, because our time is running out. Jose, and then.
Here we go. Microphone's coming. Can you say that again, just so people can hear you at home?
You want educators to have guns in school so they can protect the kids.
No, I want educators to have better salaries, to have budget, to being able to buy supplies, to have healthcare, but they don't need guns.
Well, I think educators should be the educators. They are educating our kids, our new generation. They are not to be layer, carry the gun to fighting for the criminal. And that's a different people's job, not educator's job.
Thank you.
Well, I agree that our teachers need to be teaching, and that should be first and foremost. But there is a movement out there that requires, or doesn't require, but gives the opportunity for individuals in our school systems, whether it's teachers or anyone else that's on school property, that they can be armed, and they can be armed quietly where no one knows that they are armed. Then we become a hard target, not a soft target. And then that, if people know that they are potentially people in the school that are armed and they don't know who they are, then they will not take the chance of going in.
Okay, we've got a question back here, and then we'll wrap up for the closing.
Maria Virginia Garcia. I have a question about mental health, more so about behavior therapy. Our agency for healthcare administration is constantly denying new providers in our area. So I want to know what you guys are going to do to be able to allow us to provide therapies for special needs children and mental health for our young kids. We, as business people, are trying to open these clinics, and Tallahassee is shutting us down regularly. One of the requirements is that we have a place where we pay rent, and it takes them up to a year to deny us, and we're not allowed to see these kids. So I want to know what you guys are going to do in Tallahassee to help locally, where we have centers for behavior therapy that have up to 2 years of a waiting list.
Wow, that is a powerful question.
Well, I definitely hear you on that, because I am the full-time caregiver to my child, and the challenges of receiving his speech therapy, behavior therapy, occupational therapy have been incessant. The reason why I am providing 100% care for my child over the past year and a half is because his mother has, my child's mother has sought other avenues of employment at the federal level, and there just wasn't anything available for my child. From before care, after care, the services. We fill out paperwork. My son gets seen by a therapist 6 months, 8 months later. Now he's 10, 8 months, 9 months, that's a tenth of his lifetime. It has to stop, and we need to definitely present personal instances, and that being my child, my young one, my baby, that's a personal instance that I would definitely amplify, as he is one of the main reasons why I jumped in to run for House District 47.
Okay, we're going to continue. We're going to wrap it up. Here we go. So closing statements, 2 minutes each. We started on this side of the table, so now we're going to start on the opposite side. And so the floor is yours. You have 2 minutes for your closing statements.
Jumping into a race was not an easy decision for me. I come from bouncing back with cancer. At my lowest point during my treatment, I found not one, but 2 people that decided they were not going to get treatment. They're just going to die. And they had stage 4, just like me, just because they didn't have access to healthcare here in Florida due to the huge gap that is in care. 2 people is too much for me. That was one of the reasons that I decided, you know what, not under my watch. I think it's time to go to Tallahassee and vote for unions, and vote for healthcare, and vote for immigrants, brothers and sisters, and work and vote for the working people, and work with the working people that are my neighbors. Anyone can decide, can win an election. Anyone can win a primary, but who can get over there and do the actual job? Who can go over there and actually have the experience in policy, in legislation, in community organizing, in nonprofit organizations? I am the candidate that has all of that on my background, and that's why I'm before of you. And that was I'm so grateful to be in a group of my peers, surrounded by people that I love and people that I know from my community, and very excited to have this. Thank you. This conversation with you all. We have important decisions to make, and our decisions that mean the life or death for many of us out there. So I hope that not only in August, but also in November, you make the right one. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
In 2022, when we lost our election to Representative Paula Stark and the Republican Party, we knew that the journey was only halfway complete. It's always going to be halfway complete until you get your message out to the people. As soon as we lost, we filed for 2024 immediately, and we began canvassing in the areas where we lost. We won in Kissimmee, we won in Orange County, with an incredible percentage of the vote. However, what was newly given to us with the redistricting of 2022 was the city of St. Cloud, the old St. Cloud, as some would say, the downtown portion of St. Cloud. We spent 15 months corralling and canvassing and dropping literature and speaking to people and having the conversations from Nova Road to the easternmost area of 47 to 417, which is the northern border of our district, down to Canoe Creek, and to the east, Michigan Avenue, not too far from here. We're out there doing what we need to do to make sure that everyone exercises the right to vote, which is exercising change. We talk about early voting. We talk about vote by mail. Again, there are only 2 candidates here, and I'm the only one within the Democratic Party that is registered, that has always been registered to vote by mail since its inception. We also have a candidate that is not even living in House District 47, has never lived in what is now House District 47. I'm leaving you here with some homework, because that's what it's about. It's about informing the constituent base what is the truth and what is not the truth. search and vote, research and vote for the candidate that is presenting you with the most transparency. We're not moved by dark money. We're not taking corporate donations, nor are we funded by political committees that are entirely funded by corporate money.
Okay,
Vote for Nieves 2024.
thank you. And now you, Mr. Jang?
District 47 is growing. St. Cloud is growing. Kissimmee is growing. We have more people coming here every day. 1,000 people in Florida will come into this state here. And we need to have a new ideas, new proposal into our regions. Be a business people, technology entrepreneur for 20 years, being an international business consultant. I believe I could bring the better proposal from the economic, environmental protections, and the senior support. We have a senior in these our communities. Bonaventura areas, a lot of seniors I've been dealing with every day. St. Cloud as well. We need to take care of them. They've been dealing with us for decades, build up these beautiful communities. And it's a time for us to make a change, bring more new ideas. As we say at Kissimmee, Osceola County, St. Cloud, this is the diverse communities. I believe I have a better proposal. I bring on the tables, be informed by economic experience, international business experience. I think we could grow better and more. My name is Andrew Jan. I'm asking for your support from July for vote by mail until August 20th, which is both primary as well as a general. Thank you.
Okay, Representative Stark.
Well, as soon as I was elected, I was on the ground running, working on your behalf. And hopefully I was a voice that was a moderate voice that was reaching across the aisles for both sides. I can tell you that as it relates to bringing things back to our community, we had 11 appropriation requests. We brought 6 back. Unfortunately, not all the ones we wanted, huh, Carla? But we worked really hard to put them on. So we just this session brought over $6 million back into the community, which are things that are going to benefit the citizens themselves and create better jobs. Additionally, we did bring appropriations back in the first session. Also, the most important thing as it relates to affordable housing and what's fair and viable for our community is I focused significantly on the mobile home industry. We did pass Bill 613 because our mobile home citizens in our community in particular were being taken advantage of. Their lot rents were doubling. In some cases, they were being evicted, losing their homes, and something needed to happen. And it was quite a fight, but we made it happen. We got the bill passed. We've been able to reach out to our mobile home community, which is 400,000 strong across the state, but significant in our community. We are saving homes and we are making people's lives better. In addition to that, we are addressing the mental health issues, which is significant in Osceola County. It has become an apparent huge problem. So we are addressing those with some of the bills that we are focusing on. And I just want to let you know, moving forward, the initiatives that we'll be taking is creating higher paying jobs, the community unity, because I believe in that. This is part of that. This is unifying all of us together, continuing the mobile home initiatives, Save Osceola, which was Split Oak, which was mentioned, and protecting home rule, which is important to me and any of our veterans and first responders.
That's a wrap. Okay, Paula Stark, Andrew Jang, Anthony Nieves, Maria Reyes. Wow.
Well, another round for this panel of candidates. We started off with a lot of agreement, and then we got there at the end with a little bit of disagreement, which is what democracy is all about. So I also want to thank Yvette Brusuel from Channel 13, who's with us and is our co-host tonight. My name is Marcos Vilar. I'm the Executive Director of Alianza for Progress, and I want to thank all of you for being here. But before we give a round of applause to yourselves, I want to also recognize the staff of Alianza for Progress and Alianza Center who have done a magnificent job of putting this event together. And I would be remiss if I did not mention a great friend of our organization who always allows us to use this beautiful space for whenever we ask for it and doesn't charge us a penny. And she pays for the light, the air conditioning, everything else. And that's Jackie Espinosa. Thank you so much, Jackie. So now give yourselves an applause. So in closing, I want to let everyone know our website is alianza.org, and you can go on our website and give a donation if you would. You don't have to, but it's putting this thing together does cost money, and we appreciate all the gifts and all the support that people in our community can provide to us. It's not easy putting these events together. We're doing at least one per week in Orange County and in Osceola County from now until the elections. Nice. And that's a whole lot of work. So any of you who feel moved to contribute a little bit to our cause, it's alianza.org. Thank you. So with that, I will pass it over to Yvette to close us off for the evening.
Good night, everybody. I will not be in your morning news tomorrow. So thank you, because I'm here. I can sleep in. But seriously, the fact that the candidates are stepping up, you've moved my heart, every single one of you. And then to see this nice live studio audience on a Tuesday, it's so wonderful. I hear there's a little bit of rain, so weather on the ones every 10 minutes on Spectrum News.
All right.
Have a good night. Buenas noches. Gracias.
Buenas noches.
Gracias, Ángel.
I feel like I've been sitting down for 2 days.